So, so we had last time and the time before. Everybody's looking for schoolers. Everybody wants a schooler. What's a schooler for Parnasa? We talked about all the schoolers for Parnasa, Parshas Hamon, famous Tuesday of Beshalach. So I'll give you a schooler that's good every day. But this is not just a schooler for Parnasa, it's a schooler for Olam Haba.
What?
You want to get Olam Haba? Yeah. I'll tell you the schooler.
I don't want to get this too fast.
I pray 3 times a day.
He said he doesn't want to get there too fast.
I pray 3 times a day.
Also, there's another one. Amar Hakar. We say Krishma. We daven. You daven every day. You say Krishma every day. And there's a halach. You're not allowed to make a hefsek between Goal Yisrael and davening. Right. Samach gula letfila. The gula has to be right before tefillah, both by shacharis and by ma'ariv. Misayle Rav Yochanan. So the Gemara in Brachas. Misayle Rav Yochanan. The Amar Rav Yochanan. Ezehu ben olam haba. Ze hasoymech gula letfila. Even shel arvis. I'm adding the word even. Shel arvis. So the Meforshim say kosher kain shacharis. Because there's a machloikas by ma'ariv, the Seder. There's one man the Omer in the Gemara that says that you say you daven and then you say the Birchas Krishma. We don't do that. We do just like by shacharis. We say the Birchas Krishma and then we go into ma'ariv. So it says Zeh Samech Gula the Tefillah. He's a ben olam haba.
And in Marv there's a Kaddish.
There's a Kaddish. They said the Gemara asked the Kasha, the Meforshim asked the Kasha, and it's a Gula Richta, it's not a Hefsek because it's a Seirich. And since Ma'ariv is a Rishus, so we're more makel by the Hefsek. And in Chutz La'aretz it's even worse because they have Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. So the Meforshim asked the Kasha, and they say it's a Gula Arichta. But you have to be Semech Gula L'Tfila. So, the Rabbeinu Yonah asked the question, just because everybody goes to Ma'ariv, every frum Jew who davens Shacharis and Ma'ariv, everybody's Soymech Gula L'Tfila. Just because you're Soymech Gula L'Tfila, you went from Goal Yisrael straight into davening, into Hashem's Fosai Tiftach, you went straight in there. You're going to get Olam Haba. Olam Haba, you have to earn it. Just by davening, and people daven by rote, and everybody's going to get there. It says, Ezehu ben Olam Haba. And it's such a schooler, you're going to get Olam Haba. Yeschar kol kach lios ben Olam Haba for this. So the Rabbeinu Yonah brings 2 terutzim. I'm going to bring the second teretz. I'm going to quote the second teretz. Ve'od amar Moiri Nero. My Rebbe told me. This is the Rabbeinu Yonah. This is the Meforshim in the back of the Gemara are called Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah. So the Rabbeinu Yonah said, Mipnei shekasha mazkir gulas Mitzrayim. When you mention gulas Mitzrayim, and then you daven right away, you show that you're boiteach b'Hashem in your tefillah, because you're mavakesh your tzrochav, because a person who's not boiteach in Hashem won't be mavakesh anything. In other words, it's showing your betochen. The fact that you said gula, Hashem has the koyach. We talk about Kriyas Yamsuf, we talk about Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out, and He was the Goal. He was Goal us from Mitzrayim, and therefore I'm davening to Him. And it shows our betochen in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's why I'm davening. So how did he answer up the question? That's what it shows. So you have to say that you have to have this kavana when you say Goal Yisroel. In other words, you can't be stam half asleep, in the morning. You're half asleep. People like to daven by rote. People they just upgedavent. They say in Yiddish, upgedavent. So everybody just keeps on davening, and especially if you're in a fast minyan, it's very hard to concentrate, and you don't really think about what you're saying. You just daven like Ashrei Yishmei. You just mumble it out. No, you have to think about what you're davening. The whole thing depends upon the kavanas halev. What is your kavana? Your kavana has to be that I'm trusting in a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Many people, they go to the. I heard one person went to the Rav. He says, I daven. I feel like I'm davening to the wall. Like people in Makbid, they go to the wall and they daven. So, but what are you thinking about? And many people think they're davening to the wall. Why am I davening? Because I have to daven, but I don't see anything happening, right? People daven to the wall. It's a very big problem because we can't see a Kodesh Baruch Hu in front of us. We have to use our visualization and see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in front of us, and we're davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we daven with the right kavana, so then you're a ben olam haba. So it all depends upon your kavanas. We had last time, Hashlech al Hashem Yehovcha, v'hu yichal kolecha. We had the Machloikas, the Gra, and the Chavos Halavav, and the Ramban. The Ramban, the Gra brought down the Navardika brought down the Machloikas, the Ramban, and the Chavos Halavavis, and the Gra is going in the Shittas of the Ramban. So the Gra learns Hashlech al Hashem Yehovcha v'hu yichal kolecha is literal, total and absolute betochen. And one of the major concepts in betochen is it all depends upon the level of your betochen. Both the Ramban and the Rav Chaim Volozhin, they bring the pasuk. Hashem silcha ayad minecha. Hashem is your shadow. In other words, as much as you believe in Hashem, that's how much He supports you. Just like by your shadow, if you wave to your shadow waves back at you. If you frown at your shadow frowns back at you. If you smile at your shadow smiles back at you. So it all depends upon how you look at Hashem. The inyan of betochen, the Maral in the Chedushi Agadis, Bo Chabakuk v'hamidu alachas. Then the Gemara Makas. Bo Chabakuk v'hamidu alachas. That there's one basic mitzvah. If you grab onto this mitzvah, you have all the mitzvahs. This is the avoda that a person should grab onto. In our generation, we can't concentrate on all Taryag mitzvahs, so we concentrate on one mitzvah. Tzadek be'emunaso yichya. Kol ayadei emuna. By having emunah, a person has devekas in the Hashem Yisborach. It's not that the emunah There's ein etzem amuna rak the concept that you're supposed to have amuna creates devekis. If you're maimin, you're dovek in a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu is with you. So that's pshat. Hashem silcha yad yaminecha. The amount of that your mind concentrates that Hashem is with you, whatever you're doing. Hashem is taking care of you. That's how much He will take care of you. So therefore, we can understand the Gemara. If I believe, I davened, and I talked about Kriyas Yamsuf, right? Sur Yisrael, Kuma B'Ezus Yisrael, Avdeichenu Mecha Yehuda Yisrael, Go'aleinu Hashem Shmo Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Hashem Goal Yisrael, and you believe it, that He's going to be Goal you, and therefore that's why I'm davening. I'm not davening to the wall. Davening to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So it all depends upon your concentration.
Can I say something? You can cut it out afterwards.
I'm sorry?
If you want, you can cut it out afterwards.
Just tell us what he's saying.
But it says, Hashem Tzilcha Yad Yaminecha. Most of humanity lives in the northern hemisphere. And when you're davening, you're facing east. If you're davening facing east, then the sun is never on your left. The sun is always on the right, because it's in the south. So there's no tzel on your right side. Hashem tzilcha al yad minecha. On the left side is the sun shadow.
That's good for people in the
northern hemisphere.
No. The people to the west of Yerushalayim, but people to the east of Yerushalayim, they daven the other way. So it won't work. If you're in Baghdad, you daven the other way. You always have to.
Most of the,
Yeah. But that's true. I don't know where they daven in Babel. They daven towards the west in Babel. L'chayra. Okay. There's a halacha about giving tzedakah. There's a halacha about giving tzedakah. So the gabbai tzedakah have to mekayim the mitzvah of dai machsaro. You have to give him what he needs. Right? You have to be farness a person what he needs. And the problem is when a person who was wealthy and he went bankrupt, now what does he need? He's used to a certain lifestyle. Now what does he need? So Hillel Hazaken, he used to buy, it was in those days, an ani ben tovim. He was an ani, but he used to be a very wealthy man. He bought a sus to ride on, because that was the form of transportation in those days, a horse to ride on, and an eved to run in front of him. That's what Hillel would rent for this ani ben tovim. It says one time he couldn't find an eved to run in front of this fellow, and Hillel himself ran in front of him for 3 miles. Imagine the Gadol Hador running in front of this person. I can't imagine, but that's what Hillel did, because this person needed it.
Can't you just find someone that isn't used to that? And
you have to take care of everybody. Now, if you have a very wealthy man, and he went bankrupt, he lost everything, and now he has nothing. He has nothing. He came onto the Kupat Stoka. So now the Stock organization, the Rabbanim who run the Stock organization, they have to take care of him. So they have to give him what he's used to, right? If this is what he's used to. He's used to steak, and not he doesn't want to eat beans and potatoes. And he wants to have decent food.
If there's a preference between a rich person and a poor person,
We're not getting involved in. I'm not getting involved in halacha. I'm not getting involved in halacha if there's a choice who to support. I'm telling you, this is what the Gemara says, right? Now, halacha l'maisi, you have to look in the Gemara. You have to look in Yoreh De'ah and Hilchos Stoka. We're not getting involved in that.
He has a more need. He has more of a need.
It's psychologically, he needs this.
Yeah.
Psychologically, he needs this. And we're going to see in a second how there was this fellow, he was a former wealthy man, and now he was an ani v'evion. And he came in front of Reb Nechemiah, and Reb Nechemiah said, "B'ma ata soed? What are you used to eating for dinner?" Amalei basar shaman v'yayin yoshin. Geschmack of meat, right? Steaks, and old wine. So Reb Nechemia looked at it and says, I don't have this. If you want to eat, some adashim, I'm just having some lentils today. But that was his supper, some lentils and water. He didn't have any. Reb Nechemia was not a wealthy man. If you want, I'll feed you. Come to my table. You can have supper with me if you have nothing in your house. He obviously had nothing in his house. We can't imagine that a wealthy man is so destitute he has nothing in his house. I mean, like, if they have Tomchei Shabbos in, everywhere there's a Tomchei Shabbos, and they have to do things secretly, and there are people who are embarrassed. There are people who are embarrassed because but they're used to. They don't want to take tzedakah, and they're used to a high level.
Rice and vegetables.
Right? Yeah, rice. Sushi. Yeah, sushi. So if you want, I'm eating adashim today for lunch. You can have supper with me. So he was there for a few days. He came for his meals a few days to Reb Nechemia's house, and he died. He died of aggravation. So Nechemia said, "Oy lezeh shahargo Nechemia." Oy to this person that Nechemia killed. So the Gemara asked the question, what do you mean? That oy to this person, this ani that Nechemia killed. What do you mean, oy to the person that Nechemia killed? It should be oy to Nechemia that he killed this person, he didn't take care of him properly. Right? Oy to Nechemia. Nechemia obviously didn't give him proper. Reb Nechemia did not give him proper stalker.
He didn't have.
He should have tried to raise it like the other
You're
rabbanim.
supposed to get.
So Ella, so the Gemara answers, the ani should not have been mefanik himself so much. He was too much of a mefunik, that he was such an istinus that eating this lowly food killed him. Oy to the person that Nechemia felt bad because Nechemia did. It came out that Nechemia was al yedei Nechemia. This happened, but oy to the person should not have been mefanik himself to spoil himself so much that that's the only thing he can handle. I'm an istinus and I can't handle anything else. Learn. I had a neighbor, Mrs. Caston.
Rabbi, what does mephonic mean? You shouldn't be so sensitive.
Spoiled. Don't spoil yourself so much. Don't spoil yourself so much that you can't handle it. You have people are extremely spoiled, especially in our society. People are extremely spoiled. They're overly sensitive. They can't take anything which is slightly to them. It's disgusting. Anything which is not up to the par of their level. So he shouldn't have been spoiled himself so much. Now,
Born into it. I mean,
one second.
I'll tell you one thing. I grew up in my family. I'm one of the kids of the Rav, and we eat everything. You don't want it for breakfast. You get it for supper. It's there. You don't have to eat. You don't have to eat it. No one's forcing you to eat it. It's there. I'm telling you, it's
different generation.
And no one
different
yeah,
generation.
but some people won't.
You have what to eat, but you always have something.
Let me finish. How the Asal come to Rava? There's a Maisa with Rava. I want to get to this Maisa with Rava. So Rava asks him, B'mato Soed, he says, I eat stuffed chicken. Yeah, stuffed chicken and old wine. So Rava got angry at him. Aren't you worried about ducha de sibura? The sibur has to support your luxurious lifestyle. You only eat stuffed chicken, and old wine, and you want us to pay for that out of tzedakah? So he looked at him. He says, Rabbi.
Wait a second. There is no stuffed chicken.
Today there is.
That's what this is about. Discussing. It started off discussing.
But to force the stalker to pay for it. To force stalker to pay for it.
Shabbos to pay for it.
I mean, like, eat tivol. Eat tivol, you know.
It's a basic logic.
It's always more expensive than chicken today.
Huh? Eat soya, whatever it is. So the fellow, he looked at the rabbi, says, Rabbi, Atami diduhu kachlilna? What, Stoker is supporting me? The Eberster is supporting me. Midrachmana kachilna. And with a mafurish pasuk, Einei kol eilecha yisaberu. The eyes of everybody are looking, hoping towards Hashem, have their hope in Hashem. The ata noisin lehem es ochlam beito, because their eyes are towards you. Ata noisin lehem es ochlam beito. You give them their food in their time. Beitom. It doesn't say in their time in general. The normal, whatever the masses do in the time of the masses. Ela beitoi, in each individual's time. Melamed shalakol echad v'echad, for each individual. Noisen HaKadosh Baruch Hu parnasaso beito. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives each person's parnasa in his time that he needs it, what he needs. So it's individual. The hashgacha pratis is individually tailored. So I mean, like, the rabbi got a little taken back. This fellow is so adamant. Just at that moment, there's a knock on the door, and Rava's sister walks in, and she brought him. She hasn't seen him in 13 years. 13 years he hasn't seen his sister, and said, "How are you doing, my brother? And I brought you a present. Now that since I came to visit you, I can't come empty-handed." She brought him a present: stuffed chicken and old wine. Exactly what the fellow had ordered. Yeah. So Rava says, what is this in front of me? What just happened here? And he understood the hashgacha pratis. So he says, I caused you pain. He turned to the ani. He says, I caused you pain. Please be meichel me. Now come, join me for a meal. Join me for your meal. In the schus of this ani, and for Rava to learn the lesson. So Kadosh Baruch Hu arranged that at that time his sister came. So they asked Akasha, what's the difference between the case of Rav Nehemiah and the case of Rava? In the case of Rava, Kadosh Baruch Hu took care of him, right? In the case of Nehemiah, no miracle happened, and the guy died out of aggravation. He he couldn't. So they answer, and this is nogeya to the that halacha of the Rav is supposed to take care of everybody, dai machzara, whatever he needs. So the Eitz Yosef on the Medrash Rabbah. Oh no, in Ein Yaakov, the Eitz Yosef in the Ein Yaakov. So he says it depends. If a person was not born into it, but he became rich and he spoiled himself, so unspoil yourself. Just like you spoiled yourself when you got the money. If you lose the money, unspoil yourself. Who told you to spoil yourself? You have to always be prepared for, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So if a person is, he gets a windfall, landfall, whatever they call it, windfall. So, and things go good for him. Don't spoil yourself too much. I had a neighbor, Mrs. Caston, and she grew up in the old time New York, and they had to work very hard for the living, to make a living. They worked very, very hard. She had a hotel. I forget which hotel she had in the Catskills, and it was very, very hard work. And Baruch Hashem, they managed. And she was my neighbor, and she said to us, always said over to us, people have forgotten how to be poor. People are so spoiled. People go over their their budget, and they go into a minus in the bank, and they get into tsaris, and they can't, and they have to work overtime, and then they're worried, and they can't pay for this and can't pay for that. So they've forgotten how to be poor. You have to learn how to live on your standard. So the same thing here. This person, he wasn't brought up with this, so he's got to learn. He should, just like he learned, he taught himself how to. He spoiled himself in riches. So also unspoil yourself. But a person who was born into it, he came from a wealthy. The family was always been wealthy, and from his infancy, he was born into wealth and luxury. It's in his system. Then the Rav has to give him Dai Machzor. That was the Ma'aseh with Hillel, and
Does that mean he can only make a tikkun with his kids?
I'm sorry.
He can only make a tikkun with his kids by not giving them anything.
Rebbe's saying,
I had a cousin.
I should fly first class. The kids should fly coach. That's what the Rebbe's saying.
He should fly coach with the kids. No, don't teach the kid by example.
Send them with a wagon.
Everything is with example. They're going to watch him. Don't worry. They're going to watch him. You know, when he wants to buy them a car, he's got the Lexus and he buys them a Chevy. You know, so they're watching him. You know. But I had a cousin, Allah v'shalom, he died in COVID, Nebuch, but he was a very, very wealthy man. He was an importer. And I went to visit. He was a distant cousin. I didn't meet him too often, but I went to visit his house. And I knew that he was very wealthy. And I walked into the house. It was a normal house. It was a normal house. You just walked. Everything was normal. It wasn't real. I've been in houses where, you know, I've been in houses where everything, it looks like a museum. His house was a lived-in house. He had kids, and they acted like kids, and left the toys on the floor, and things were scattered, and it was lived-in house, and it was a very fine house. And the kids dressed normal. That's the way to raise the kids, normal. Don't get them used to highfalutin standards, because then you have problems. But we see from here, so it depends upon the person. So what's the difference in the case of Reb Nechemiah? In Reb Nechemiah's case, the fellow he did not merit getting a miracle for him, whereas the fellow by Rava he merited getting a miracle. So it depends on your level of betochen. The first person, he had lost his money. And he was always complaining. He was always, grouching about, how this bad luck happened to me. But he had no choice. So he went to the rabbi, and he asked the rabbi. And the rabbi said, "What do you want to eat?" I'm used to steak and the most expensive wine. And he couldn't get out of his system. Couldn't get out of it. But he had no betochen. He had no betochen. He was angry. He was angry for what had happened to him. Whereas the other fellow, he didn't express any anger. He says, Hashem is still with me. He asked for stuffed chicken, the stuffed goose, and wine, old wine. And they asked him, you want Stucker to pay for this? This is all from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And he really believed it. And since he believed it, he got it. So it all depends upon whether or not you believe it.
That's not a level of gaiva to say like, oh, Hashem is going to always provide me like the most exquisite.
That's what we had last time. We had with the Hashtag al Hashem Yehovcha.
But it's not just it's not a normal Yahav. It's not a normal.
Oh, it's that again for us. We discussed that last week with the Navardik, the Machlekes Ramban and the Chavos Halavavis. The Gra paskins like the Ramban. Hashtag al Hashem Yehovcha means if you really believe it and you're Mashlech al Hashem Yehovcha, so then He will provide. But we're not, nobody in our, hardly, I can't say nobody, maybe there are tzaddikim, but it's only for the big tzaddikim that they can live at the level of the Ramban. The Navardika, I mean, he was totally and absolutely trusted in Kadosh Baruch Hu. He went around Europe during World War I. After World War I, during poverty, during the Great Depression, and he set up yeshivas all over Russia without any money, and he had phenomenal siyata d'shmaya. It was things that he did were miraculous. It was uncanny what he did. Why? Because he had absolute bitachon. So they answer, what is Hashlech al Hashem Yehovcha? What's Hashlech al Hashem Yehovcha? We had that last week. V'hu yichal kalecha. Throw everything on the Ribono Shel Olam, and don't worry at all. But it has to be only on the Ribono. That's the Geruah last week. Don't try to help Hashem. I have to think about this calculation, about that. Of course, we have to do ishtadlus, and you have to do the best ishtadlus. You have to use your Yiddish cup for the best ishtadlus possible. And Baruch Hashem, Yidden know how to make money. Use your Yiddish cup to figure out strategies according to your means how to make money. But it's all from the Ribono Shel Olam. In other words, everything is from the Ribono Shel Olam. If a Kadosh Baruch Hu is inviting you onto his train, that's what we had last week, he's going to take care of you. Don't think he's going to take care of you? Where's the Gemara? The Gemara in Kedushin. Rebbe Meir says, they asked this a question. The last Mishnah in Kedushin. Rebbe Meir Omer, Li'olam Yilmad Adam Es B'no Umnis. So even Rebbe Meir, the Gemara has a kasha on Rebbe Meir later on. But this is for normal folks, not Shimon Bar Yochai folks. La'olam Yilmad Adam Es B'no and Umnis Nakiya V'kala. Don't get involved in a heavy parnasa that's going to wear you out. Take an umnis which is nucky. You don't have to get involved in getting your hands dirty, and it's light. V'yispala l'misha sha'oisher v'nechasim shaloi, and you dive into the Ribono Shel Olam. She'ein umnis she'ein bo aniyas ve'ashiris. There's no umnis. There's no field of endeavor that doesn't have. Some people don't make it, and they're ani. And some people, the last mission, the very last blot of Kedushin. There's no umnis, which doesn't have aniyas to it. Some people don't make it. Some people are struggling. And ashiris, but some people make it. Whatever umnis, whatever field, whatever occupation you go into, some people make it, and some people don't. Shalo aniyas mina umnis. The aniyas does not come from the umnis. Below ashiris mina umnis. Hakol lefi schusay. It depends upon your schus. What's the schus? It doesn't say. Depends upon your schus. So according to what we're saying, it all depends upon your level of bitachon. It all depends upon your level of bitachon. If you have bitachon, it'll work. Hashem is going to take care of you. If you don't have bitachon, and you think the business is making the money, so maybe the business won't make you money. Hashem silcha al yad minecha. It depends upon how much you depend upon him.
Yeah, but I'm saying the person has a choice what type of business to choose. Some businesses, the default is you don't make a high salary in that type of business.
Everybody.
You'd be limited.
So when right. So the Chavos Halavavis says, according to your nature, what you feel you have a talent in, and according to your nose, so you use your seichel to choose the right field, and your daily endeavors in that business. Use your head. Don't be stupid. and do as your effort a normal effort, not overly. Do a normal effort, but realize that the endeavors that you're doing are nothing. They don't do. It's a so there's a
But I'm talking about the scent.
You're
the Gemara just said that not a shear sitting on. There's no.
Let me tell you.
shears
I just heard a story. I just heard a story. I can't verify it. I heard it from, but I heard it in a shir about there was I think it was a Moroccan, and he knew Baba Sali in Morocco, and it was the time with like in the 50s when everybody had to get out of Morocco, and they wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. So he was afraid. He heard that in Eretz Yisrael it's very hard to get a parnasa, so he went to the Baba Sali, and Baba Sali promised him, "You're going to have a parnasa." So he did Aliyah, he went to Eretz Yisrael, and but he had a problem. He was a Moroccan from the old country. He didn't know how to read or write. He couldn't read or write. He was totally illiterate. And in Eretz Yisrael, to get a good job, a decent job, you have to know how to read and write. And he couldn't read or write. So he always got these menial jobs, and nothing happened. It wasn't going. So finally, then the Baba Sali came to Eretz Yisrael. So he went back to the Baba Sali. But Rebbe, you promised me. Says, if I promise you, it's going to happen. But I can't read or write. So who says you have to know read or write in order to get a job? Okay, so he went back. He had a bracha from the Baba Sali. And I don't know if it was his son or whatever. I think his son was in the army. His son was drafted into the army, and they had a intelligence center, like the army intelligence, and they had very high secret documents. And it was a room they needed a shomer for that room for all the documents, but they had a problem. Anybody who could get in there could read the documents and memorize them, and it would be a danger. Maybe he's an agent from the enemy. So they didn't know who to find to be a shomer for that room. So then the son says, I have just the right guy for you. My father. He brought him in. He couldn't read. He couldn't write. He was perfect for this job. They made him the shomer. He guarded these documents. He sat there and he shredded them, and he couldn't read. He had no clue what was on the documents. And he had a parnasa for 30 years. He was set with a nice retirement plan, from the United States, for Israeli government. And so you see that the parnasa doesn't come, with seichel. Right? It doesn't come with any seichel. Kadosh Baruch Hu has a way of giving parnasa to everybody. Everybody has a parnasa.
He doesn't know how to read his bills.
Probably also true. there's the
We didn't shred the banknotes.
The Mesilas Yesharim, this is the famous Mesilas Yesharim. He says, the Iker is betochen. The Iker is betochen. Hashlech al Hashem Yehovcha. Legamre. Believe in Hashem, legamre. Vadai, it's impossible that a person will not get what is niksav for him. The Gemara tells us. Where's the Gemara? No. The Gemara tells us that, here it is. The Gemara in Beitza, Dav Tezayin. We've had this many times. Your salary is set. Chutz me'atzos Shabbos and Hitzos Yontif. Shabbos, it's on the house. Yontif is on the house. You have to believe it, but it's on the house. If you're eating l'shem shemayim, so it's on the house. It's not part of the yearly allocation.
Mefunak and Istanis on Shabbos and
You're allowed to be mefunik and an istinus on if it's l'kavod Shabbos. Lekavod
Not
Shabbos.
Lekavod belly, but Lekavod Shabbos.
Lekavod Shabbos. The famous Maisa would be Shuleb Diskin.
Covered belly in Shabbos.
Shuleb Diskin. So the doctor, so he had a stomach issues. So the doctors told him, you're not allowed to have cholent. Says, Shabbos without cholent. So doctor. So he had cholent, and nothing happened. One Shabbos, his wife served him cholent. He wouldn't eat the cholent. So his wife asked him, what happened? This week is not L'Shem Shemayim. I'm afraid it's going to hurt me. He knew whether it was L'Shem Shemayim or not. It was Shuleb Diskin. Chutz mi'otzah Shabbos and Yontif. Sons, bundle the Talmud Torah, pay your tuitions. Don't be cheap on paying your tuition. Rav Miller used to pay, the first thing when he got a check, he went straight to the tuition. Right? So if your pocha is from these things, they'll take it off your salary. If your poichas, if you don't splurge on, if you don't give proper honor to Shabbos, it goes off your salary. And if you're moisif, moisif and lo. So we see that everything is katzuf from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah.
I'm sorry, does that count for books too, Sfarim, like buying Torah books?
No, it doesn't say that.
Not like Talmud Torah?
Depends for who.
Talmud
For kids.
For your sons?
For your kids.
Only if it's a necessity. If it's a necessity and it's a mitzvah, so there's a shita mekabetzis, Talmud Torah also it's also in the Keshban. You have to be careful because many people, I know people, they have books where they have this addiction to books, and there's always buying books. There's no more room. They could throw out the furniture in order to make a new bookshelf, right? So you have to be very, very careful with this. It has to be something which is really l'shem shemayim.
There is a famous Ritba about it.
And not get rid of the couch.
There's a Ritba. Ritba says that everything that you're doing with Shem Torah comes in it. That means that if you eat a meal and you think about it when you go buy food and you think about it about it's tishrei.
Right. So what's this business? If everything is kotzev, if it's from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, I've already got my yearly budget allocated in Shemayim. So what do I have to work for? So the Mesil Shem says, Enechanami. You have to, Enechanami, everything is already allocated. Except there's a kanas on humanity. The tax on humanity. Why? Because of Odom Rishon, b'zeyas apecha toichal lechem. Therefore, everybody has to be mishtadel. Now, this is the Mesil Shoshorim talking. This sounds like Rabbi Yishmael. You know, I'm always going back to that machlokes, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and Rabbi Yishmael, and it's a template which we will constantly come back to, see it all over again. The machlokes, the Ramban, and the Chavas Halavavis, all over the place. It says it's a kanas. Normal people have to be mishtadl, some sort of ishtadlis for the tzorech parnasa. That's the gezer of the Melech Elyon. It's a mas that you have to parade, that you have to pay his taxes. The Gemara asks the kasha, Efshei Yoshev Batel. Is it possible you could just sit back and because Baruch is paying for it? It's already set. Hashgacha pratis. I'm going to get it anyway. Talmud Lomar b'chol asher kol masa yodecha asher tasa. We have a pasuk. The psukim are enlightening us, are informing us. You have to do something. You have to do some sort of hishtadlis. But you have to know, as much hishtadlis as you do, however smart or not smart you are, lo hishtadlis hu hamoyel. Hishtadlis doesn't help. He doesn't say it's not the iker. He says it doesn't help. The hishtadlis is muchach. It's a kanas that you have to pay. And once you're mishtadl, then you're yotzei chavasoi, and the shefa comes down. There was a poverty-stricken yid. He was getting deeper and deeper into poverty. He couldn't put bread on the table. He was desperate. He couldn't survive. He was born mayim ad nofesh. Then he heard that there's an usher, a Jewish usher, in the big city. His name was Rothschild. We've all heard of him, Baron Rothschild. And this Rothschild was a gewaldige philanthropist. He gave out a lot of stoka, right? And he had a good heart and an open hand, and he gives large nedavis. So he started to try his luck. But it was very, very far away. He had no way of getting there. He couldn't even pay for a wagon driver. So he decided he's going to walk. He didn't have any money for lodgings. Couldn't even pay for the inn. He couldn't pay for the hotel room. He couldn't pay for any even for food. He slept on a bench in the Beis Medrash, and he went to look for the soup kitchen in every town that he went to. And the generosity of some people they saw this pauper in the shul, so they brought him a little bit of lunch. Finally, after however long it was, a long journey, he got to the Rothschild's mansion. He was let in, and he started crying his heart out to the usher. He explained everything that happened to him, that he came here walking. He had no money for a wagon driver. He slept in the shul, and he just burst out crying. Rothschild, the Baron, was so impressed, and he was sympathetic to him. He gave him enough money that he not only could live, but he could start a business. He gave him 1,000 ruble. In those days, that was a lot of money, 1,000 ruble. He went back to a city with the money. He opened up a business. He started having hatzlacha. And Baruch Hashem, he's back on his feet again. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him a bracha. Jealousy. So his friends saw this. What happens when you got one person, right? The other guy said, "Hey, he tried it, right? He went to Rothschild, right? And he got a nice nadava. So I'm going to go to Rothschild, and I'm going to get a nice nadava, right? Says I used to be richer than you. You were so poor. Now you're richer than me. I'm jealous. Kina, right? Kina. So I'll get a nice donation from Rothschild, and I'll be able to open up business just like you, and I'll be on my feet. But he was a little bit more well off. So he hired a private taxi, whatever it was in those days, a wagon, a private taxi. And it was right. He was like a mashulach, right? And he had the mashulachim. The mashulachim now they drive in Cadillacs, right?
Percentage.
Yeah. So he hired a driver, like America. He hired a driver, and he slept at the inn, and he went to the best restaurants, and then he went and he got into the Rothschild, and he told him his sad story. He gave him a real spiel, and Rothschild gave him 20 rubles. 20 rubles. What am I going to do with 20 rubles? That's what I spent all this time for. This to go to Rothschild, get 20 rubles. He got 2,000 rubles. I got 20 rubles. What kind of business is this? So I said, so says, Mechilas Kvod the Gvir, please, maybe there's a mistake over here. A few months ago, my next door neighbor was here, and you gave him a beautiful donation, 1,000 rubles, and you give me 20 rubles? Maybe I can have more. Maybe there's a mistake you don't understand, and you got mixed up with the money. So Rothschild, he smiled. He says, "There's a big difference between you and him. When he came in, he looked at me and says, 'I'm his last hope. Without me, he's finished.' Without me, he's finished. I had to open up my heart to him. He was soymach on me. You're a competent fellow, and you're coming for a handout, but I'm not your last hope. You know how to make money. You know how to do business, and you have other areas with you're where you can do your endeavors. So I gave you 20 rubles. I think 20 rubles is very nice. So the Alter Navardik learns from this story. Rabbi Yossel Navardik, Rabbi Yosef Horowitz, Yossel from the Navardik Rav. Haslech al Hashem Yehovcha. You daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're Soimek Gula L'Tfila. What does Soimek Gula L'Tfila mean? You have no one else to rely on except the HaKadosh Baruch Hu for your Geula. And therefore you're davening for all your needs, whether it's Parnasa or it's health. It's all the things that you need are in the Shmona Esrei. Parnasa, health, the Gidul Banim, all the tzoros that you're having. Daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and realize that you have no Haslech al Hashem Yehovcha. You have no one else to rely on except Hashem. If you think, I can do it also, and I'll also daven, then you're not going to be zoicha to the skula of Samach Gula Tefillah. Samach Gula Tefillah is Haslech al Hashem Yehovcha, 100% total, absolute trust in the Rebbeinu Shloim.
Probably shocked. Yeah.